Good evening. We're back. It's been a little bit of a break for us.
That has.
Craig Armstrong.
Brandon Trish.
And we have a special guest.
A special guest that I know quite well.
I'm sure.
Too well.
Please let our fans, and our beloved listeners know who you are.
I happen to be his father. The name is Arthur Trish. Been in the Atlanta area since 1989. I was formerly the vice president of PR for the Atlanta Hawks for 23 years before branching off into sports media myself, most recently with 92.9 The Game, producing the afternoon and morning shows. And so now I decided to, after a hiatus of about 6 months, to get back behind the mic. And tonight is that night.
So, he's pretty much graced our show. And so we get the good Trish this time. So
I appreciate that.
We get the good Trish this time.
He ain't gonna be here next week, okay?
It's a travesty.
You have to go home.
You do have to go home.
Touche.
Oh, man. So we'll get right into it, man. We were just watching it. We were just talking about the Cowboys. We got the Cowboys and the Bears going on right now.
The battle of the stinks.
I won't say the stinks. It's the battle of the, they need something to figure it out. One need a coach, one need a quarterback. And I'm pretty sure if they can swap, they'll be all right.
Well, there's an available coach as we speak.
It is.
There is
former Chicago Bear himself.
It is true.
The rumors have already started that he could be reuniting with his old team and maybe taking a certain Atlanta quarterback with him.
Listen, he can take him.
You talk about Cam.
I know.
Yeah.
We all. I think we all would love to see Cam go up there and flourish in Chicago. That's really all they're missing. They have an amazing defense. They have weapons on the outside. I'm still trying to figure out what they want to do.
Well, the Bears have been the biggest disappointment, in my opinion, in the NFC this year, aside from the team that resides in this particular town. But given all the hype that went into this season and given how many people thought the Bears and Mitch Trubisky was ready to take that next step, they've gone the exact opposite way to where now you're questioning the abilities of the head coach, general manager, and everybody with that franchise. And when those questions come up, you can bet there will be changes at the end of the season.
Oh, yeah. I think another problem with them is they've gone away with what worked for them. Last year, Mitchell Trubisky, they let him pretty much go play his style of play. And I think this year, Matt Nagy tried to make him into what he envisions a quarterback to be.
Exactly. They're making us like fools because we all picked them to win the division, too, and we all wrong.
We did.
We all picked the Bears to win.
We look like fools. The front office looked like fools because you look at Deshaun Watson, who they passed up in the draft.
And Patrick Mahomes. To go get Mitchell Trubisky, who looks
traded up to get him at that.
Who looks like Mark Sanchez right now. So,
it's
quite terrible to say the least. I know, the Bears defense is like, bruh. Like,
give me something.
Give me 21 points. We good. You can't even give me that.
Give me something. They're having horrible quarterback play. One team, I guess we could say one team that's not having bad quarterback play. Baltimore Ravens. Your team.
Say that. Give it to people in the back. Way back.
Action Jackson.
See, you don't understand. I have to hear this constantly from him because not only does he do the Ray Lewis dance repeatedly in my house, but he's also trying to remind me at every turn that they're the greatest team going. And now he's added a new twist to it because of the fact they have two players from the team that I generally root for, the New Orleans Saints, and Willie Snead and Mark Ingram. So now he chooses to call them the Baltimore Saints, which certainly irks my nerves.
First off, don't disrespect Mark like that, okay?
Hey, he's getting his best career. He's getting his best season so far.
I will give him that. They are opening holes for Mark Ingram that they never did in New Orleans, and I've got to give it to him. The dude is running that ball hard each and every night. But the mere fact of the matter is this clown decides to want to rub it in each and every game.
You could always just kick him out.
The threat has been there.
Hey.
The threat has been there so long.
He
just ignores it.
He threatened me on Monday night after we were going crazy. You want to try to kick me out? I said, hey, don't get mad at me. We're the greatest show on turf right now.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Y'all had that term. Well, no, you didn't. But, it was the greatest day smoking.
I have to give Baltimore credit. They are the best thing in the AFC that I see this year. Yeah. Not only have they beaten New England, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. And having beaten Houston and now San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. Seattle.
And Seattle. You cannot. Now, they've got a great test on Sunday at Buffalo because I don't know what the weather's going to be like, and we all know the elements can certainly play a factor in a game like
we
that.
know how Buffalo goes.
But they just played in a similar situation this past week.
And tsunami.
Being rain instead of snow. So it'll be interesting to see how they make it through something like that again. But right now, they're my AFC choice to make it to the Super Bowl.
It's hard.
That might be the first time. That might be the first time I've ever heard you say something smart like that this season doing football. Good job.
Yeah.
Listen,
Good
look,
job.
if you kick them out, I promise I won't take them in. It's all right. I mean, for the AFC, I would say it's hard to pick against the Patriots. Even though the offense looks very pedestrian, they don't have really any much skill on the outside. Mm-hmm. It's hard to pick against them because of 12.
Well, I certainly agree, and you can never go against the GOAT. And
it's hard to beat them twice.
Well, and here's no doubt. And you don't know where that second game may be. Now, Baltimore has the home field edge if they finish with the same record at this point.
Right.
But there's still 4 games left in the season, and we'll have to wait to see how it plays out. Before we went on air tonight, I happened to flip through Twitter, and Antonio Brown is back on Instagram again.
Back with Nike.
And evidently he has, I don't know if that's an old tweet or an old post, but he has posted another picture with him and Tom Brady. So I don't know if that means he could be heading back up to Foxborough before.
Deion Sanders did say they're getting receivers.
They need another receiver.
They need one.
Because I thought Mohamed Sanu would help them out a great deal, but Sunday night, it was like he wasn't even there.
I mean,
until late third quarter.
They have a lot of guys that do the same thing.
Same exact.
They have a lot of guys.
All the one in breaking routes, in routes. They had nobody who could stretch the field. I mean,
They have no one who you. They have no one who you fear going over top of it. I mean, Philip Dorsett, but I mean that's all he can do.
That's it. And he ain't been there, but he been in out the lineup. So
like you have N'Keal Harry, he can't get separation.
He's been hurt all year. Yeah. You don't know what to expect out of him. Sanu, as I mentioned, has been hurt in the brief time that he's been with New England.
Edelman's had a nagging injury all year,
but no one's feeling sorry for them.
No,
okay,
never.
That's the bottom line.
Never.
First of all, they always have a break each and every year with that sorry division that they're in the AFC East, and thankfully Buffalo is making it a little bit tougher for them this year. It'll be interesting to see how it pans out over the final 4 games. But Jets and the Dolphins, please, come on, man. They get a guaranteed potential 5 to 6 wins each and every year because of that division.
Every year,
they're lucky because they were playing. People don't want to say it, they played in a different division. I don't know if they would have had so much success.
They wouldn't.
They wouldn't have as much success. I mean, they'll still win, but I don't think at a high clip that they've been winning.
But back to number 12. I have never seen him struggle as much as he has struggled over the last 3-4 weeks. And he's not effective on third down situations. Mm-mm. People are putting a hat on him more and more.
He's looking old.
And he really is. The one guy who's probably getting more satisfaction out of watching Tom Brady struggle these days is ESPN's Max Kellerman.
Oh, my God.
Because he has been saying for like 2 or 3 years that
the cliff is coming.
That he's on a decline. And everyone looks at Max and rolls their eyes when he says stuff like that. But this year, at least the last 3 or 4 weeks, he's getting some satisfaction at knowing that for now, his comments are correct.
Well, a clock is right 2 times a day. A dead clock. I mean, how many times have people said, "Oh, Alabama's the dynasty's over"? They said that in like 2012. And I'm like, all right, sure, but.
You just had to find some way to bring Alabama to this conversation.
Hey man, 17. But
some ways you had to bring. They are not even the type of conversation.
But
that's
where is Alabama on this Saturday?
Same place we was. What last time we won the national championship around this Saturday?
So are you saying that there's still a chance?
Nah,
no. There is no chance. I wish you could have seen the look on his face. November 3rd at Terrell's house when he was sitting there, I drank himself into a coma. But I was being a good friend, and he wanted to fight me. Because
I didn't physically want to fight you that day. I mean.
Well, you got to look at it this way. You guys have run the division and run the conference pretty much for the last 8 years since we last won it. As a matter of fact, I believe we were the last team to win the division, if I'm not mistaken. Or did Auburn win?
Auburn won.
Auburn snuck one in there as well.
Auburn won by default.
You've owned the SEC. So if there's a brief blip on the map and Alabama's not in the SEC championship game or the college football playoff, you guys can rest it.
I'm not mad at it because my thing was once Tua got hurt, I was like, we don't need to go anyway. Because I'm like, why do I want to go and get embarrassed? If I'm gonna let's go to the bowl game and let's play for next year.
Yeah, go to Planet Fitness Bowl or the Dunkin' Donuts Bowl or something like that.
Listen,
go to a bowl that no one never heard of, Birmingham Bowl, something. Y'all
I know that y'all are used to playing in the Planter's Nut Bowl, but has nothing to do with it.
That's in the past. We talk about today and this time. Okay.
Okay. Hey.
Okay.
But let me ask you this question, since we took a brief turn towards Alabama. Do you believe Tua Tagovailoa will return to Alabama next season, or will he hang it up and go to the NFL?
The way he's talking is like, I feel like
He's gonna come back and be stupid.
I think it's 60-40 he leaves. Like, at first I thought it was like a shoo-in he's leaving. But you hear him talking about things that players don't usually talk about when they're about to leave. Usually they're like, it's a great opportunity for my family, yada, 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 yada. He's like, well, it's a lot of money I'm leaving on the table. I'm like, when did you start talking about money? Like, clearly he's talking to somebody about it.
Well, you got to figure he's had some pretty traumatic injuries over the past year and a half.
Yeah,
You better get that security.
And he's had 2 major surgeries. Well, 3 really over that span.
2 ankles and
the most recent one was the most devastating of them all. And thankfully he's able to at least move around a little bit, albeit with crutches. I hope that we see him in the NFL next season, only because it's time for him to be selfish. He's done all he can for the University of Alabama, won them a national championship when perhaps they shouldn't have won one year in dramatic fashion. And there's nothing more for him to accomplish there. Yeah, they can win another championship with him. Maybe he can improve his draft stock, but I don't think wasting another year trying to hope that you avoid another injury is the best move for you financially. Yeah.
My thing,
your brothers are gonna be there, so let your brother develop. Let your brother get some shine.
His brother's not gonna play. I'm gonna tell you that right now. We got a kid coming in. It's a dub for them. But
so you mean the current quarterback who started last week could be sitting on the bench next year already?
Look, if
Matt
that
didn't play bad.
He didn't, but he also lost us that game. Like I won't.
A
lot of people blame the kicker and the defense.
He gave you 14. Or he gave up 14
spotted
points.
you 14. He threw 2 pick sixes on 2 horrible throws. Overthrew an out route. Then you threw the ball too early on the.
That's also the one on the goal line. We're gonna blame that on drunk Sarkisian. You're not throwing the ball on first down at the 1 yard line. So that's on drunk Sarkisian.
You're right, but you also have to eat that. You gotta know where you are, and you gotta. Nick has always preached in the drive and the kick is either extra point, field goal, or a punt. Be smart.
But where has your defense gone since
injuries? We're playing 7 freshmen on defense.
Okay.
In the middle of the defense at that.
It sounds like us. Huh. No one cares about that.
Well, that's why y'all gave up all them yards to Texas. That's probably why, right there.
Well, since we've segued into college football, how do you view Saturday's match here in Atlanta in the SEC championship game?
It's strength on strength. It's going to be defense versus offense. LSU, they put your defense in such a conflict. Mm-hmm. Like just looking at the game, they put you in such a conflict. You have to make a decision. You're either going to let your players win their matchups on defense because you can't double anybody, right? And you can't really play zone either because they can still run the football.
And also, the thing is, I was telling my boys this. I said they actually have a lot more depth that people think. Yeah, you got the top 3 people, but you still have Thaddeus, who's a matchup problem.
Thaddeus Moss.
You got Stephon Sullivan, who's still a matchup problem, who's 6'7". You got Derek Dillon, who come in and blow top off, and then Racey McMahon. I said, so really, we got the top 3 people that you the names of, but you still have other people who can come in and make a contribution. And also be a big loss for Georgia is the freshman Pickens. Who gonna be out the first half of the
because he
it was
a UFC fighter.
Yeah, another gift he provided to the Tigers at least for a half, and hopefully LSU can take advantage for his loss. I mean, the way I've enjoyed watching this LSU team, having worked there back in the 80s and certainly followed them since I've been away from the university. But this is by far the best LSU offense I have seen in some time. And it starts with the quarterback who will win the Heisman Trophy in Joe Burrow. I mean, the young man has been able to transform his career from one year to the next into a quarterback who was perhaps looked at as a 3rd to 5th round draft pick in this year's NFL draft to perhaps the number 1 pick.
I hope it's going to be number 1 pick.
We don't want him going to Cincinnati.
No, we don't want him to go to Cincinnati.
No one wants to go to Cincinnati.
Right. I don't think he'll have much of a choice because it certainly looks like the Bengals will have that position.
Go take Chase Young. Keep the Ohio.
Let him slide. Let him keep sliding.
Let Chase Young go to Ohio.
He won't slide beyond number 3, that's for sure. But I love what I see out of LSU. we haven't trailed much this year in many of the games. I think the last time we may have trailed in any game might have been briefly to Auburn, may have been Florida, but we haven't trailed often. We average the second, if not third, most points scored on offense this season. We can give up some yards, but we can certainly outscore teams that we've played, and we've certainly played one of the top schedules in the nation this year. And Georgia has a lot of reason to be proud of what they've accomplished this year, but they haven't seen an offense like this.
And people gotta realize this too. Like everybody say, "Oh, LSU gave up yards." I said, "Yeah, but teams still get blown up by 28 points. Who cares?"
Well, everyone points back to the Ole Miss game when we gave up about 600 plus yards, but we gained over 700 yards. So
and they ran 300 yards on Bama. So that's why I keep telling us they ran 400. I said they ran 300 on Bama. So they are a running team.
The thing with this upcoming game is, where's Georgia gonna go if the run game doesn't work?
Right.
Because you had no Kager.
If DeAndre Swift can even play.
Right.
Now, I'm not buying into the fact that, he just has a light bruise or shoulder or however they're terming
So to carry
Because
Johnson.
I've worked in sports long enough to know coach speak and how teams withhold injuries until you have to literally put the player in the game or the game has to kick off. We'll see if Swift is able to play. He will bring a dimension to their offense that's needed if he's able to play, but you can rest assured that he's going to get some hats on him. On Saturday, and how long he will be able to play will be the point in question, because as we know, there's been a lot of talk here in this area regarding Jake Fromm and how effective he's been this year. I think there's been a bit of a drop off from his performance a year ago to this year, and I don't think LSU's defense is going to just let Georgia march up and down the field. And we've gotten a few guys back that were battling injuries at some point in time during the season, but once again, can they stop our offense? And that's going to be the big key.
That's going to be the thing. They haven't been able to run cover 2 in 30 years, so I don't know. But but I mean that game is going to be, to me, who's going to be in the championship game. Whoever wins the SEC, to me, is going to be playing probably Clemson, Ohio State. I don't know, but
if you remember, if Georgia happens to win, and they won't. But if Georgia happens to win,
LSU
we could still have 2
4.
teams in the SEC.
Yeah, I think LSU's in regardless.
Right.
You have to. I mean, there's
you're not going to put Utah in.
And no one puts the Oklahomas because they'll play Baylor again, and nobody wants to see. I mean, yeah, Jalen had a great success story. Right on, black man.
I want to see Jalen get in though. I do want to see him get to 4, and I wouldn't mind seeing him play Clemson. You know,
now everything would shake up if Ohio State, somebody chance slips up. And, that leaves the table open for Oklahoma or Utah potentially.
And Justin Fields isn't 100% right now either.
Yeah, no, he's taking some licks.
He takes some hits, and he got that huge Tom Brady knee brace on.
Well, and he's also, not this past game against Michigan, but the game prior to that, he suffered 3 fumbles. And he was bothered by, I believe it was his throwing wrist. In that particular game, the opponent escapes me at the moment. But Ohio State, everyone wants to say Ohio State is the most complete team in the country this year. That can be debated as well. Penn State was the best team they had played up until that point in the season. That was week 11? And we thought Michigan may give them a bit of a test this past Saturday.
They never do.
Under Jim Harbaugh, it just hasn't happened. And that's been probably the most disappointing thing in the Big Ten, that you expected a bit more from the Michigan team and Harbaugh, and I don't think the debate as to whether or not he will return in the future. I don't think people should really be debating that, because if they happen to want to part from Jim Harbaugh, who are you going to get?
Nobody wants
coaches are being fired on a regular basis right now, and I don't know if there's any telltale name out there that you want to bring into your franchise if you're one of the elite programs in the country.
And let's not forget, he's taking over from Brady Hoke
and Rich Rodriguez.
Yeah, they were winning 5-6 games, barely bowl eligible, and at least Jim is keeping you in contention.
Some kind
like
of
for some reason, we keep ranking Michigan at the beginning of the season in the top 10.
They'll have a good recruiting class. And then that'll be it. They'll probably win 8 to 9 games in Big Ten, and they'll probably lose to Penn State, Ohio State, and then that's it. And then they'll go to the Chick-fil-A Bowl, or not even Chick-fil-A Bowl. That's a good bowl. Take that back. They'll probably go to one of the bowls that nobody heard of, and they lose there. And then we had the same talk again next season.
They were in the Chick-fil-A Bowl last year against Florida.
And got ramrodded.
They
had a
let
chance
Franks.
Yeah, Felipe. Yeah, there's a Felipe.
Jesus Christ.
And I'm so happy Felipe Franks did not go to LSU. Thank God he did not go.
Well, he's about to go somewhere else.
Well, he thinks he's going to be on that next level. He's got the size.
He better go transfer.
Well, there's been talk that he may consider going to the NFL. I don't think that's a great move for him right now.
Nobody's taking
a practice squad quarterback.
Nobody's taking Felipe Franks. Felipe Franks is filthy.
Felipe Franks, the kid out of South Carolina.
The boy from Auburn just committed to Kentucky.
Yeah. Which is actually I like that for Kentucky.
Gateway, it's last name? Yeah. I saw him.
A lot of people aren't talking about that Pac-12 game though, because it is an important game. Because you do have Oregon playing Utah. If Oregon wins, Pac-12 is probably out of the whole
probably
thing.
is over with.
Utah wins. Now we're talking about a different story. Utah is number 5 right now.
But nobody wants to see Utah.
Nobody wants to see it, but the committee's going to put them in.
Well, you'll pretty much know Utah's status maybe even before they kick off Saturday, because if I'm not mistaken, they're the second to last of the championship games on Saturday.
I think
they play on Friday.
Yeah, the Pac-12 one is on Friday.
Oh, okay.
They usually play theirs
I
early.
stand corrected.
Yeah, so you already know what they're saying going into Saturday. So, and don't Oklahoma and Baylor play they got the early game. Then they play 12.
They usually play the early. The Pac-12 usually plays on Friday. The Big 12 usually plays early in the day, like noon. And then the Big 10 usually plays early too. They playing? No, they play late, because I remember that because Ohio State lost. They beat Wisconsin and didn't get in that year. They play late. SEC is right in the middle of the day.
4 o'clock, because this is when everybody wants to watch anyways.
Oh, I'm going to a UGA watch party for that, and I'm hoping that y'all take care of business in a dramatic, not even dramatic, in a fashion that has them leaving by halftime. I want to see people paying their tabs early. But I mean, those are the games that we have to worry about right now. But we're gonna go. You hungry?
I am hungry.
We're gonna get back to the NFL though. We got some games going on this week that we got to pay attention to, because that's gonna, going into the playoffs.
So what we got?
Well, we're just gonna pick a few. The Cowboys are up 7-0 on the Bears.
No surprise there.
13 minutes left in the second quarter.
You guys are doing me a big favor that I don't have to bother watching that particular game, because as much as I would love to watch a Thursday night game, I'd probably put on an NBA game tonight.
Listen, hey, I got league pass, so I feel you.
Nobody trying to watch that filth between Mr. Trubisky and Dak Prescott.
Hey, look, that's your man's. But
that ain't definitely not.
Who are you taking in this game?
Can they get a tie?
No.
Oh God.
I mean, you could, but I doubt.
Philadelphia would love that. They've given Philadelphia every reason in the world to win that division, and yet Philadelphia has stumbled their way through.
And it's always ironic. I just realized every time Philadelphia messes up, Terrell ain't here.
He ain't been here a lot.
Terrell is not here to have to hear this. He's lucked out the last 2 weeks.
Philly is horrible.
They're filthy.
Well, let me ask you this though: did Philly make the right move in going or staying with Carson Wentz?
No.
And letting Nick Foles go?
No.
Because now we see the body of work from Nick Foles, albeit injury-filled this season, that he's being replaced in Jacksonville this week
by the Mississippi mustache.
Gardner Minshew.
Well, my thing is, I will say no, just because I feel like you'll probably get the same quarterback play from both. You also have to take into consideration the Eagles on the outside.
One of the worst set of receivers in the NFL,
Terrible.
Considering where they are as a football team. We can complain about Chicago not having the quarterback, but Philadelphia has had quarterbacks, and for them to be able to manage to get by with the quality of receivers they've had, it's amazing they won a Super Bowl, considering. And with the guys they're trotting out right now,
Jordan Matthews 12 times on the team.
You can't put it all on the quarterback, even though he's going to get the lion's share of the blame. And because they're paying him
a whole bunch of money,
abundance of money,
a heck of a lot of money, he's got to take that heat.
That's the only reason why I say they made a mistake, is because I think they paid him a little too early.
Mm-hmm.
They gave him
done that with 2 quarterbacks this year, one being with the LA Rams.
Right.
That man is god off. He's messed up my fantasy too many times. So
listen, I mean, his problem is he has a running back with an arthritic knee, and when your whole offense is predicated on play action, who's gonna bite on the run right now with them?
And you don't have no dominant receiver besides. I mean, we know your favorite target is Cooper Kupp. And Brandon Cooks can't stay healthy because
Robert Woods is what, 6 foot?
He's 6 foot, and Brandon Cooks can't stay healthy because he's concussion protocol every week. So
he's running into walls every week. I don't. 7-7 on that game too. By the way.
Oh, let's go Bears. I'll go Bears.
We're gonna go with the home team.
I'll go with the Bears. I don't want the Cowboys to see nothing.
Right. The Panthers and the Falcons play this week. You got a battle of the head coaches already being fired and one who's gonna be fired.
Well, the GM should be on his way with him too.
Yeah. Yeah,
the GM could be on his way in both cases.
Listen, Dimitrov needs to be up out of here. He's one of those U-Haul situations for me.
Oh, he always says any Falcons player that he wants to get out of, he gonna help them move. So Dimitrov is in that.
Yeah, Dimitrov, I'll come help you move, brother.
Well, the situation we run into with Sunday's game here against the Falcons and Panthers is that while the Panthers lost to the Falcons a couple of weeks ago in Charlotte, they were running a different offensive scheme at that particular point in time on both sides of football, offense and defense. With an interim coach, you don't know how much of that offense could change. So I'm not sure how much the Falcons have been able to prepare for what's ahead. You got to figure that Kyle Allen will play a better game than he played a couple of weeks ago. You have to think that he would. But the Falcons being at home are a 3-point favorite. I happened to see that a few minutes ago. And that's strictly because they're the home team. Yep. Because they're on a losing streak of their own, and they didn't play well in their last couple of games, albeit they were able to get back in the Thanksgiving game against the Saints because of New Orleans' ineptitude in recovering onside kicks.
Yeah, but both games.
It could be one of those games that's a 9-6 game or a shootout because we don't know if Julio Jones is going to be 100% healthy this week.
Sit out the rest of the season. He had nothing to play for. Sit out the rest of the season.
That's not Julio.
He's not built like that.
I know that's not MO, but hey man, sometimes y'all be a little selfish, man. Look, y'all ain't going nowhere.
He not Odell. He built by Bama. But
the problem is
don't do that. Odell gets salvaged.
If you're Atlanta, given where you are in the 2020 draft right now, I think they're about the 5th or 6th.
Fifth right now.
The worst thing you can do is win some of these meaningless. Not to say that the guys don't have it in their heart to win games, but winning these games could be a detriment to you based on draft position.
Yeah, going from 5 to 10
in next May, June, whenever the draft takes place. So, and when you talk about a player like Chase Young, or if it's a quarterback or top wide receiver or defensive lineman that you may be looking for, you may miss out on that guy because of where you're drafting in next year's draft.
I totally agree with you.
And then go ahead and just lose the games. Go ahead and put Matt Schaub in the game. And you're fine.
Matt Schaub might give you a better chance. But we're going to go up to Buffalo. We were just talking about this game, the Ravens and the Bills. This one I want you, just for you, I want you to give me a score along with your winner.
We already know the winner.
The winner, that's evident. So the score.
The Bills?
I like Bills. Green Bills, but not Buffalo. So
who you got?
Baltimore, duh. I mean,
okay.
That's neither here or there. Be a hater. Be a hater.
No, I'm not going to hate. Baltimore should win the game. However, Buffalo has shown me something in the last couple of weeks. They have a lot of resiliency, and they're playing at home. You can't discount that fact. But Baltimore, I think, wants to redeem themselves for the performance they had last week because while they won that game, they won it in the rain. They weren't as good as they had been offensively. If the weather is fine for Lamar Jackson, we will see flashes of what he's produced during this MVP campaign of his. And I think Mark Ingram will be able to run the ball effectively, and I think Baltimore will win at least by 9 points.
See, I'm going to go with the Bills.
Okay.
And it's not just, me trying to hate on you. Honestly, the Bills have shown me something this year, and I think the Bills are one of those teams where you rarely see, they don't play a lot of football with mistakes. You have to beat them. They're not going to beat themselves. They're one of the least penalized teams in the NFL. Josh Allen, he's playing pretty good football. I won't say he's playing like inspiring.
And the funny thing with them, see, because he's kind of running quarterback, but now you're playing against a team that plays that sees that every day. In both cases.
Both sides.
Both sides, but the difference is Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. And they don't really have the receiving core or the tight end threat that we have. So,
Listen, playing in Buffalo.
We're playing Baltimore.
Playing in Buffalo.
They playing Baltimore.
We'll see how it goes. We'll see.
You guys keep talking about that because I really wonder about the weather in Buffalo on Sunday and how you may feel it's not going to make a difference.
We
the weather will always
you sound real hurt. Your voice getting all high.
Look, we played them on monsoon on Sunday.
It's all right. It's okay.
People want to say Lamar could do nothing because he's black and the football black. They had on black jerseys.
That was ridiculous.
They wanted to hate on that.
We'll get into
the
that.
weather on Sunday, 45 degrees and clear. So that
no snow.
Baltimore.
That does favor Baltimore.
No
Running
snow.
game Baltimore. But we'll see.
Old man Frank Gore, he piling up yards because he's been in the league 200 years.
Hey, we'll see.
Only thing good to come out of you in the last 10 years, gruesome in here.
We got the 49ers and the Saints.
Let him pick this.
Oh, that's an easy pick. I mean, it's in the Superdome.
Okay.
The Who Dat Nation will be loud and proud. And we haven't played a home game there since the loss to Atlanta. So they're going to want to get back in here because we're the number one team in the NFC right now. We want to hold on to that spot because we want to make everybody come to New Orleans. Now, unlike last year, we want to make it work for us and go to Miami to play in the Super Bowl. But we should have been playing in Atlanta, but that's an entirely different story. That's not what you asked me. You asked me about Sunday's game against San Francisco.
Let it go.
No, you will never let that go. But the fact remains, the 49ers will be one of those teams that we could eventually see again. And so playing them at home is something that we have to instill within them that we are a very good team. Defensively, I think the two teams are equal from a defensive standpoint because the Saints have up to 40 sacks now thanks to the 9-sack performance they put out against the Falcons a week ago. And while the 49ers front four is pretty awesome with Nick Bosa and Buckner and those guys, I don't know if their secondary has really been tested. Now, that's not to say New Orleans has speed merchants or burners on the outside, but Michael Thomas is one of the NFL's best at wideout this season. He catches the ball at a 80 to 85%, 87% pass connection rate. And if Drew Brees is able to get the ball out quick and involve Mike Thomas and also Jared Cook, hopefully he doesn't drop a couple of passes like he did against the Falcons.
Alvin Kamara.
I think you can neutralize that pass rush. It would be nice if Alvin Kamara is able to finally get going. I think he missed Mark Ingram a lot early in the season, and that focus was all on him, and it took a little while for Murray to get going. Then when Kamara was out with the ankle injury, Latavius Murray got going, and now that the two have reunited in the backfield once again, they really haven't had the kind of production that maybe Saints fans expected from both. Hopefully this week is that game to get them both on track and that we will get a test of what's ahead come playoff time. But New Orleans hasn't played its most complete offensive game yet this season. That's one thing that Sean Payton has been harping on. Even though we've been winning games, we have not had an offensive explosion or display like we had a year ago. And I don't know if that's because Drew Brees was out for a while. Teddy Bridgewater did a phenomenal job while he was in Mr. 5-0. But Brees is certainly going to be the guy the rest of the year, barring any other injuries and what have you. So it's up to Drew to get this offense going on Sunday. Can Jimmy Garoppolo get it going against New Orleans' front? We will see. New Orleans had a lot of guys running in and out against the Falcons, about 8 guys along that front line. Marcus Davenport, who was probably ridiculed a lot last season because he was not expected to be a first-round pick. The dude has been balling the last 3 or 4 games. He had two sacks against the Falcons last week and forced a fumble on Matt Ryan to where that gives us a great complement of pass rushers. And the guy who's probably played the best at linebacker in the NFC this year, Demario Davis, is always around the football.
So he's
been balling. I would say he's been balling this year.
He is going to have to neutralize George Kittle. Mm-hmm. And if you can neutralize Kittle, there's been a little bit of noise coming from one of San Francisco's running backs. His name escapes me at the moment.
Raheem Morris, because he had a good game last week and now he wants to run his mouth.
Well, he wants to call the Superdome the Voodoo Dome, and that it's a neutral site. Okay, That's fine.
Oh.
We're going to make him pay for those comments come Sunday. And
See, that's
I expect a very contentious game. I expect, because you got Richard Sherman on one side who loves to yap. And so
Yes, he does.
he's going to probably be on Michael Thomas the entire game. And they'll go at it a little bit. But I have to go with the hometown team in this one. Because it's at home, if it was at San Francisco, maybe I would lean a little bit the other way.
No,
But-
you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't.
Hey, I can always take the blinders off. As much as I support my team, I can always take the blinders
Listen,
off.
if it's one thing I
But-
know about Trish's,
That one perhaps. But I expect you'll see a very close ball game. Turnovers could play a factor, and a field goal late can also play a factor.
Garoppolo will you turn the ball over because he is good for that. He's good for 1 or 2 a game.
But I hope at the end of the day, the New Orleans Saints will move to 11-2 and solidify their hold on the number
give
one
me
spot in the
give
NFC.
me a score prediction on this
27-21.
one. Okay, who you got?
I mean, I didn't been picking these fools with the last 8 weeks. I ain't been wrong but once. So, I
No
guess
time for you to start now.
God. Well, I guess I go with the Saints. I go 35-24. Jimmy G throws 2 picks, 1 pick 6 to Marcus Lattimore.
That's
He is, like I said, he's prone to turn the ball over.
hey, look.
You won the 49ers, I know.
Yep. No, I'm going with the 49ers, but I just believe in that defense. I've had that defense all year in fantasy, and they ain't let me down.
That's true.
I mean, you have you got a running game in the defense. You got a quarterback. Hopefully, he doesn't turn it over. Hopefully, George Kittle,
Got neutralized last week.
he did. One person that I've been liking,
Debo Sims.
I like him. I like the
Debo.
kid. Well, I don't know if it's because of his name or he came out of South Carolina, but I like the kid. Debo has been lighting it up a little bit, but I think this is going to be a low-scoring game, though. I think you got 2 defenses that are going to it's going to be a fight, especially in those trenches. So I'm going to go with 49ers 17, Saints. I think I'm going to go with the Saints 13 on this one. I think it's going to be a
Low
real
scoring
low-scoring
affair.
fight.
Well, here's the one thing as you guys were talking that came to mind that will worry me on Sunday, and it kind of reared its ugly head a little bit against the Falcons last week. Eli Apple, while having a pretty decent year up until the Thanksgiving Day game, he reverted back to getting a lot of holding penalties in that game against Calvin Ridley, and to the point of where they flipped and put Lattimore on Ridley for the remainder of the game, and Eli went to the other side of the field. San Francisco has some nice talent at wideout. They picked up the gentleman from Denver, Emmanuel Sanders, who
And he should be
New
healthy
Orleans
this
wanted.
week.
New Orleans tried their best to get him, but was unable to do so because he would have definitely put us over the top with Michael Thomas. But he's on the other side of the football field now. So if you got Lattimore on one side and you got Eli Apple on the other, your safeties are going to really have to buckle down and make sure these guys don't allow one of those 2 guys to be able to run free. And so don't be surprised if Apple gives up a couple of big plays, but I hope that doesn't happen, but because I hope the defensive pass rush of New Orleans will be able to get to Jimmy Garoppolo.
We shall see. We shall see. Last game is on Monday night. Talked about Philly. We doing this for L. The Giants.
If they lose,
And
if
the
they
Eagles.
lose to old man Eli back off the pine, they'll just need to go ahead and convert over to being a fan of somebody else. I'm going
Where is this game?
in New York. Ain't it? It's New York, isn't it?
It is.
I think it's in New York. Yeah, I think it's in New York. Yeah, it's the home side.
Well, here's my outlook.
It is in Philly.
Oh, it's in Philly? Oh, so you definitely have no reason to lose if it's at home.
It's in Philly. The Eagles are 8.5-point favorite.
That don't mean nothing. They was probably a 14-point favorite against the Dolphins and blew that cash.
Well, listen. Longest Carson Wentz throwing the ball.
Well, and they
is
also
second.
lost their last home. Well, it was albeit the Seattle Seahawks. They lost their last home game there as well. Philadelphia has been,
Hell of a disappointment.
They put a whole lot of play. They put a whole. I think Carson Wentz getting. He has a whole lot to do with less. Like Zach Ertz is your main target. You take him
everybody
away,
knows that.
and you take that away, and Nelson Aguilar can't catch a cold.
You tried to give him a running game, but
And they were doing well for like 2 weeks, and they started running the ball.
And also,
Jordan Howard got hurt.
And Wentz has to do a better job of protecting the ball. It's been easy for defenders to knock the ball completely out of his hand when they're attempting to sack him, or even when they sack him. He's been trying to shift the ball over from one hand to another, and he'll lose it, and the other team's running the other way for a quick 6. He's got to do a better job of protecting things offensively for Philadelphia, because when you have the weaknesses they do on offense, your quarterback cannot add to that and compound those problems by allowing turnovers to take place out of his hands. Now, the Giants, you always have to, just because it's a 9-point Philadelphia favorite in the spread this week, you can never rely on that too much, because divisional games always can be a bit of a pickle for anybody. Ask Atlanta and New Orleans to be a perfect example. And so it wouldn't surprise me that Eli's been waiting on this moment. And he comes out and has one of those games where he throws 3 touchdowns and Saquon Barkley is running up a storm.
God, I hope so for fantasy.
It wouldn't surprise me if the Giants get the win. The Eagles should win, but can they? I don't have any confidence.
Should they though?
They should.
Talked about a lot of. We talk a lot about their deficiencies on the outside. We talk a lot about them. Honestly, I think they have a problem in the locker room as well.
Mm-hmm. They don't like Carson Wentz.
Should they beat the Giants? Are we giving them too much credit?
Well, I think we're giving them too much credit only because of their record. And I think the Giants will come in with some extra incentive to do this for Eli, because if this is his last 4 games with the Giants, they're going to want to go out in style with him, because the dude has meant so much to their franchise. Won them 2 Super Bowls. Whether he becomes a Hall of Famer for them remains to be seen. I know that debate has gone wild on the various ESPN shows today. Now that we know Eli's starting this week, but he's 161 and 161 is his record, if I'm not mistaken. So
he's been average.
That's the most Eli thing.
That man is very average.
He gonna go 2 from 2 and 2.
Here's what Philadelphia can't do: they can't fall behind early, because they're playing at home, and as we all know, that crowd will lay it on them if they're not playing up to their capabilities.
So bad.
These people booed Bryce Harper, so I know they're gonna boo Carson Wentz. That's
boo
not
Santa
a problem.
Claus.
They threw snowballs at Santa
Snowballs.
Claus. It's gonna be a real interesting game. It's gonna be a real interesting weekend in college and NFL this weekend. We're gonna take a break though. We're gonna come back. We're gonna talk a little bit of basketball. Y'all should. I'm just gonna let y'all talk. But we're gonna be back. These Urban Time present Sideline Stories. Look, Alan Crabb. I know you paying him a lot of money. There ain't no reason he need to be playing.
Go ahead.
I didn't understand that pickup to begin with.
I
maybe
didn't
it's
either.
because you will have that roster, that roster spot a year from now. But I didn't understand the makeup of this roster, why you would bring him in and try to figure out how he's going to complement your team.
Why did you bring in Chandler
Parsons?
That's another roster spot of salary that they
won't
can
be
use
there
next year.
Because they're gonna have almost like $80 million to spend.
Yeah, they will. Once again, the Hawks and the Knicks will be 2 of the biggest teams in terms of.
Yeah, but ain't no really no big free agents next year, and then also no one wants to come and live. I keep trying to tell you, nobody wants to come and live here.
Well, people live here all the time. They don't want to come play here.
No, think about it. You know, athletes, they got Atlanta. Distractions.
Athletes live in Atlanta, LA, or Miami.
Off season
or New York.
Off seasons. Like Two Chainz said.
The last free agent. This is what's
Joe.
My previous place. The last free agent. Joe was not a free agent. He was
a trade.
The last free agent of note that the Hawks picked up happened in 1996, the year of the Olympics, when we brought in Dikembe Mutombo.
And that let you know.
Paul Millsap became an all-star in Atlanta, but he didn't come with the same cachet that Dikembe came to Atlanta with. That's a staggering statistic when you consider all the elements that Atlanta has to offer, that we have not been able to attract a quality free agent to this roster. And it has to be discouraging to the franchise knowing that with a refurbished facility,
nice.
state-of-the-art practice facility, that they have not been able to attract that quality free agent. And much like the Knicks, you need that one guy to make that commitment. And who will get it first between Atlanta and New York? You know, while the Warriors are struggling with their season, a free agent is more apt to go to Golden State. Will Golden State have the money, however? But they still will be more apt to go to Golden State before they would ever consider the Knicks or the Hawks. But because those two teams have a lot of money, they have a lot of money to play with, and you'll have to spend a lot of money is depending on who you're able to attract with that money that you have to offer. And to briefly go back to the NFL game tonight, Mitchell Trubisky is 14 for 19, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, while Dak Prescott, a pedestrian 6 of 13 for 60 yards. Dak should have signed that contract at the beginning of the season.
He should have. I say
you know what?
I don't know.
Hold on. Give me that Dak one more time.
Trubisky, 171 yards passing. They have the ball, mind you, at the start of the third quarter. 15 of 20, 171 yards, 2 touchdowns. He has thrown an interception. Prescott, 6 of 13 for 60 paltry yards.
And you know what? We're going to end on that there.
What does Zeke got? What is Zeke's stats?
Zeke's running the ball, 13 carries for 72 yards, and he scored their only touchdown early in the first quarter.
So he's not gonna run the ball no more for real the rest of the night. So it's gonna be a Dak show because they're gonna try to throw the ball for the rest of the game, and they're gonna turn the ball over. So
Listen, I got nobody in this game for the fantasy, so that's fine.
I could care.
As a matter of fact, I got a bye week in fantasy, so it's all good. But
man, my fantasy, all 3 leagues I've been stanking.
Well, that's because you're probably picking number rating players. But all right, so tell the people where they can find you, good brother.
I appreciate that. What you ask me?
Tell the
Where
people.
would they find you on
Where
social
your 2 long ass names.
So disrespectful. You can find me on social media at CEO Trish. That is CEOTRICHE. And also at King's Kicks ATL, KINGKICKZ ATL for all your sneaker news, baby. And where they can find you at, old man?
My Twitter address is xhoops, PR guy, EX-hoops, PR guy.
See how easy that was? See, we need to sub, right? Anyway, you can find me at Chevelle Cruz everywhere, CHEVELLE CRUZ. Follow the station, Live Hip Hop Daily.
Follow Terrell.
El Dorado.
2452. He's somewhere doing something without being here.
Well, first of all, let me thank you guys for having me. It's been a few months since I've been able to go beyond social media, talking a little bit of sports. So I've enjoyed this tonight, and it's certainly a great week in which to talk about sports, given the conference tournaments or conference championship games that will be going on. The convergence of the NFL season coming towards its playoff push, as well as the NBA moving towards the Christmas Day game. So I've enjoyed it, fellas.
We appreciate you coming.
Anytime. Yeah.
We finally got some real good insight, instead of just talking about LSU and the Ravens every week for some reason.
It's high times over here. It's high times over here, okay?
Listen,
I'm sorry.
I know you're not used to it. I know.
It's been a long time. Well, wait. Baltimore just won the division last year, okay? Shut up. LSU, it's been a long time, okay?
And lost to the Chargers.
And what were the Falcons doing?
I'm a fan. I ain't no fool.
Okay.
With that being said, you can catch us next Thursday. Every Thursday. Follow us, the Live Hip Hop Daily, like I said. Theseurbantimes everywhere. We got a site coming.
And God, I hope we get on Apple sometime soon. I've been asking this for 6 months.
Anyway, we'll catch y'all next Thursday, man. Salute. And we're back.
There we are.
Theseurbantimes present Sideline Stories. We just talked about football and every aspect of it. We're going to get into basketball now. This is y'all territory.
That wheelhouse.
This is y'all. Even though I got the Hawks jacket on, but
you got a nice jacket, nice Hawks jacket.
And we gonna get to the Hawks in just a second. But
the Peachtree collection.
Hey, that's right.
They lost last night. Oh, no, they won. I take it back.
They did that. I don't know.
Were you there?
I'm just. They lost.
Oh, that's right.
They lost to the Kyrie-less Nets. But we're gonna talk about a team who has been winning a lot lately. We're gonna talk about the H's, LA Lakers.
The Coach Fields.
That's right.
Coach Fields.
The Lakers have been on a tear. They are one of the best teams, if not the best team defensively so far this year. LeBron has been playing out of his mind. I don't know what year he thinks he's in, but AD's been fighting through injury, but he's been playing well. They played the Nuggets last night. And
two nights ago.
2 nights ago, he had the Joker looking like he needs to be in the G League. I mean, Are the Lakers the best team in basketball right now?
No question.
No question.
No question.
Okay.
They've had the best. They had the easiest schedule so far. So
And that too is true.
That-
But you play the
You play
games
who's on your
that
schedule.
that are on your schedule, so you have no choice. But to
Really,
take advantage.
H.
You have no choice. For those of you on camera, we have just been across from us. We're looking at a
A's got a-
2K19 LeBron James doll.
A's got dolls.
Really, H.
I hope he's getting a little bit of cut from that.
Oh wow.
But,
Oh wow. I'm, if it's LeBron, I'm sure he's getting a cut out of everything.
in terms of what we're seeing from the Lakers right now, LeBron, first of all, has a much better squad than he had a year ago. That goes without saying.
Absolutely.
They put some all-star personnel around him with Anthony Davis. That gives them adequate or more than adequate 1-2 punch. And I love the fact that they have quite a front line group of players that are constantly coming at you. When LeBron and AD are coming out of the game, you've got Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee.
The
Cool.
biggins.
And
The biggins.
And Danny Green. And so the waves of players and talent and those with championship medal certainly has put the Lakers in the top spot in the NBA, and rightfully so.
One thing that I see from them is they're just huge.
Yeah.
I mean,
You've got to contend with that.
like we talk about the Clippers all the time being a great defensive team. The Lakers, they might be the best interior defensive team we've
Yeah,
seen
they're
in
terrible.
a very long time.
They're terrible at guarding the 3-point line.
That's fine. Run them off the 3-point line. Make them get shoot layups. If it's me at this point, I'm like, sure, yeah. But when you come down here,
Yeah.
you got 7-footers to contend with.
You definitely got footers.
They
a lot
will
of them.
certainly get a great. We thought they would get a test this week because it was two competitive teams in the West on the road in Denver and Utah. And
Mike
they
Conley
handled both.
list. The Mike Conley list.
That's
Utah
fine.
Jazz.
They handled them with ease. And the Denver game was a bit shocking. I thought Denver would put up a better effort, and they went right into the Mile High City and gave them a little taste of what they could see come playoff time. We will finally get a test of the Lakers come Christmas Day when they have to play the Clippers. I don't know
If
who's
Kawhi play.
He'll play.
He will play.
He'll play.
He will play. I don't know who will be the home team on that particular day. It's not
Lakers.
going to matter because everybody's focus will be on those two talented teams. The Clippers won the opener, so I'm sure the Lakers have been looking forward to this matchup. And right now, I would have to say I would give the edge a little bit to the Lakers simply because of the way they played thus far, because they reeled off, 10 wins in a row before they finally suffered a loss, and they picked up right where they left off after losing that game. The Clippers certainly have the better defensive team of the two, but as we said earlier, that front line of LA is imposing. And just when you think you've gotten rid of the first wave, that first unit, and giving them a break, here comes the other guys. And Dwight Howard is playing perhaps his best basketball
Inspired.
since leaving Orlando. And this is what LA wished they had from him the first time around.
He's
Maybe
finally
he was
healthy.
It doesn't.
He's bought in.
Around. Yes, because the first time around he did not want to get on the same page with Kobe, and he let that affect his performance to where he was gone from LA within a year. Then he was with a different team each and every year from that point on. Now he knows he's playing for his career, and he understands that this is his last chance, and he's accepted his role, and he's doing a great job for the Lakers.
It's the hairstyle.
But he's doing a great job for them, and like I said, they're getting additional support from McGee, and Danny Green is always going to help you, no matter which unit he's playing with, because he's instant offense whenever he's in the game. And so, if they can keep Rondo from doing Rondo things and keeping his head on straight, the Lakers could be that team in the finals that we see come June.
AD is doing a good job of that. You know, they played
That's right, in
New Orleans. One thing we are forgetting, I ain't gonna say we're forgetting, but they're bad defensively against the three right now. But we also got to remember Avery Bradley isn't back yet.
They'll tell 3-point line he's playing. But also, LeBron teams too. When January comes around, they always go on these little stink 2-3 weeks sabbatical. They lose games to teams they ain't supposed to. It happens every year. Every LeBron team, after some reason after Christmas, they just go on these little sabbaticals. They lose games.
Well, you know, Bron coast through January to get himself back together for the rest of the year.
So I always say this. I said, is he expending himself a little too much at the early part of the season? He turned 35, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Next next week, 2 weeks, something like that.
But does it really matter? Because if you look at the West right now, I don't think the West is really as imposing as people thought it would be at the beginning of the season, because Portland has fallen off a little bit.
Golden State's the worst team in the NBA.
Completely off the planet, and albeit because of injuries. So you can give them a pass on that. Utah has been up and down. Conley is hurt right now. And Denver, in their one opportunity to kind of show something against a top-flight team, they failed to do so the other night. So the Lakers have had an opportunity to coast with maybe the opponents they've had to face earlier this season. But I don't expect you'll see much of a drop-off this year, because I think LeBron is tired of hearing people chirp about what does he call himself?
Wash King.
Yeah.
Wash King.
And so if there's anything about LeBron James that we've come to learn in his years in the NBA, he hears everything. And he may be a little too sensitive at times, and I'm sure he wants nothing better than to win one more championship to try to say he's the greatest player of all time. But he's not.
Well, we're not even gonna touch that. We're not even gonna touch that because we will be here all day.
We'll be all day.
And we ain't got time for Age to
we
get
got time
in his
for
bag.
It's just 6-0. That's all you got to remember.
Hey, Anyway, the Lakers. I think we all you say the best team in the league right now.
I mean, you go by records wise, yeah.
Okay, so clearly he wants to go with the Clippers. He just wants. Okay, yeah.
I'm
gonna tell Coach Phil. Don't worry about it.
I'm not going to records wise.
I'm gonna say I think they are. I think they are for sure. It's okay. We got insurance. Right now, somebody will give it to us. But they're the best team right now. They're off in the West, so we got to have somebody go up against them in the finals. Who's the best team in the East? I mean, you got the Bucks. And everybody else.
They're actually playing the best in the NBA, to be honest. They're playing the best. They smacking everybody.
So. Well, Giannis seems to be making some jumpers.
He made 4 career high. He made 4 3-pointers last night.
Hey. Well, and not only that, people are trying to punk Milwaukee.
They are.
We got a little bit of taste of that last night with the Clippers game, and which was very funny to me, because for years, players around the league always tried to punk Blake Griffin. Mm-hmm. They would always try to engage him into a little fracas here and there, bump him illegally, or throw shots, elbow shots to the ribs and what have you. Well, Blake tried a little bit of that with Giannis last night, and he even stepped over him on one of those plays where he kind of gave him a knee and helped him fall to the floor. Chris Middleton came, not that he had to come to Giannis's aid, but Giannis was like, he was focused in on the game. He wasn't looking for the extracurriculars. And all they did was end up blowing out Detroit by 20-something points. They've been blowing out everybody over the last week or two.
They beat somebody by 40.
By the Knicks.
They
beat the Knicks by 47. And so
we can beat the Knicks by 30.
They're not taking any prisoners right now. Milwaukee in the East is right now, as we speak, is the East best team. I would probably put Philadelphia number 2, Boston maybe at 3, and everybody else. And I will change that now, because I certainly forgot about Toronto, and that's an overlook on my part. They are the defending champions, and everybody thought they would fall off a lot with the loss of both Leonard and Green, but they've been able to keep things going to where Pascal Siakam, people are talking about him not only as an MVP candidate, but also as a back-to-back comeback player of the year.
That's ridiculous.
He should be ineligible for that award this year, but
10 points.
That's the way he's playing this year. He's able to generate much more offensively, and he's playing well on the defensive end. And I think you got to, in revising my order, I would put Toronto at number 3 right now. And with Philadelphia, just because I think Philadelphia is still trying to find their way, and I think ultimately Philadelphia will beat out Toronto.
There's something about that Philadelphia team I just don't trust. I don't know what
Brett
it
Brown.
is. That's probably. I mean, that's
Brett Brown.
I don't know if we know yet if anybody on that Philadelphia team has that dog.
Well, they let him go. They let the dog go to Miami.
You are correct. They didn't, for whatever reason, want to, or Jimmy Butler didn't want to stay there.
I don't think he like Brett Brown, personally.
Well, we knew that from.
And not only did they lose a player with that capabilities, but they also lost a long-range threat in J.J. Redick that I don't think they
which was their only one.
From. And they lost the other one, Ilyasova, to Milwaukee. So they took a few roster moves from last season that's going to affect them come playoff time, because playoffs is all about making adjustments
and matchups.
And matchups. And while Philadelphia has a lot to prove given how they went out last year and Embiid walking off the floor in tears and what have you, I think you can't discount, and Atlanta fans may not want to hear this, but Philadelphia will be led in the playoffs from a leadership standpoint by Al Horford. Al Horford has been in the playoffs in each and every year of his NBA career, and that's not going to stop.
Each and every one.
That's fine. But
sometimes by his fault.
He came to the Hawks, and the run of playoff season started with him, and he's been that guy throughout those years who's been the glue to keep things together. It'll be interesting to see how the Sixers are able to get it done once they get rolling, but they have way too much talent to not be in the Eastern Conference Final.
They need to go and sign Jamal or Swish. They need some shooting. Jamal or JR or they only on the side. You ain't got to pay that much money. You need some veteran leadership. Come in there, get you fit 20 minutes, spread the floor out, because you'll need somebody to spread the floor out for Embiid besides get double teamed all the time, because Ben, after he hit one, he ain't going to shoot no more the rest of the season. He proved his point. So Josh Richardson, he's played well. Tobias is up and down. So they, like I've been saying for the longest,
more from him.
They need to go.
They certainly paid Tobias Harris a lot of money.
They paid for more.
Yes, and you expected him to provide more production than he's provided thus far, and maybe he has been affected more by the loss of Jimmy Butler than anybody else on that squad.
With him, it's like I never saw him as a guy who I could say, "Oh, Tobias out here? Oh, that's a threat. We good. He can carry us." I've never seen him carry anybody for a stretch.
But how many players in the league are being paid like that? And it's not his fault, because if somebody's willing to give you that kind of money, we all will take it. It goes without saying. But teams,
Conley.
He was the first one to get all that kind of money.
No, DeRozan was. It was DeRozan. When Mike Conley, then DeRozan.
I mean, Philly. I think they have really good pieces, but I think they don't have, like you said, they don't have anybody who has a dog in them. They don't have anybody if they're tied. If they're tied, yeah. But I mean, sometimes Mike is personality and skill got to match up sometimes. But my thing is, like with Jimmy Butler, it was like if the game was tied, you knew Jimmy was either going to get in somebody's ass or he was going to make a play.
Or he was willing to take the shot.
He would take the shot.
And I don't know on this roster if there's anybody. You can always dump it into Embiid. Mm-hmm. He may go outside and take that three-point jumper, and yeah, he can certainly take you inside. But in crunch time, who on that roster you can say right today is going to be the man Brett Brown designs plays to go to
if he designs to play at all?
Well, if Brett's got to design to play.
If he probably would design to play at all,
anyway,
good Lord.
To be honest with you. I don't know. I mean, maybe Embiid, I guess, but Embiid is like that dog that barks a lot. He ain't bit nobody.
That's why I say you need to get Jamal or Swish, because them two are not scared to take shots.
Well, I think what we have to look forward to in January, whenever the guaranteed date is over, you may see some of these guys who've been sitting on the sidelines get picked up. Carmelo was fortunate enough to get picked up by the Trailblazers a week ago, and he's certainly fulfilling what they expected out of him to the point of where they've
probably given him more than what they expected.
Well, they've given him a guaranteed contract for the rest of the season, so he will be on their roster, and he's already outside of maybe one game where he struggled, and that's to be expected since he was out.
That's it.
For a while.
Last night, 2 nights ago.
He will certainly provide an element to that roster that they were missing, but. Guys like Jamal Crawford and J.R. Smith, you could see them picked up by some of these potential playoff teams to add some punch coming off the bench, because some of them can use a little bit of those guys. Because while we may not know what you can expect from J.R., he will always keep things interesting.
He gonna let that thing go.
Jamal will always provide points and will play us behind off on the offensive end and be able to create and get his buckets, whether inside or outside. But I expect you may see both of those guys on somebody's roster after January.
Hey, we got to see if Iggy going to get bought out too now.
That's true.
You can trade it. They're going to try to keep him away from the Lakers as long as they're going to trade him to somewhere. He's not going to – I don't think they're going to buy him out.
If he ends up with the Lakers, then it may be a wrap. You may give
maybe a dub. Maybe a dub.
You may be giving that title to the other residents.
How about to say so? I mean,
at
Doc.
the Staples
I mean, you go ahead and trade. Who's on that roster? You get rid of.
Troy Daniels.
Yeah, just get some. No, I'm talking about the Clippers because the Clippers wanted to.
Yeah,
I can see him fitting better with the Clippers.
They had to fit his salary in there, but I mean,
yeah,
we'll see. Now, what Andre is doing, he's playing with my pick for Rookie of the Year.
Ja.
That boy
Ja Morant.
We got a few rookies that came in playing well. We got a few rookies who have not. But who would you say is your? Actually, give me your top three.
Ja. Kobe White's been playing well. And can't say nobody from the Hawks because they ain't been.
I disagree with you there.
DeAndre
Me too.
Hunter?
I like what I see out of DeAndre Hunter.
I like him on the defensive side, but I mean, he's had some games. He's had some games where he's played well, but not. Sometimes he disappears like Cam. Cam did play well last night. I was shocked.
We gonna talk about that, man.
Hey, he's a Duke player, so I don't want to give him no kind of credit. So
you say Ja?
Kobe's played well, and who else? What kind of other rookies have been playing well for real?
PJ Washington been playing well.
Dad,
Tyler Hero been playing well.
Boy Wonder, that's right. I've noticed Boy Wonder has been hooping out there in Miami, and he has a great vet in Jimmy. That's why he's playing well.
And while we didn't talk much about beyond that, maybe top 3 or 4, we cannot exclude the Miami Heat because I think they've played better than a lot of teams expected going into the season because no one really knew what Miami had, even in picking up Jimmy Butler and bringing along Tyler Hero.
They're tough.
They are mentally tough, and
Bam has been
they're a
playing
team
well.
that will play 48 full minutes, and they won't let a couple of minutes slide. And Jimmy's not going to let that happen. First of all,
Hell, Pat Riley not gonna let that happen.
Pat would come down with the Godfather,
with the slick back and
slick
all.
back and the Godfather robe on.
I think they probably have one of the best, probably not the best, but one of the best in terms of just organization ladder for me.
Yeah, and
But
player development.
From owner to Pat to Spo to Jimmy being your leader on the floor, like, and then to being your young dude with Bam and Justice and all them. Like I
Justice is playing well. Thank God he's finally starting to play like a top 10 pick.
Listen, I think they have probably one of the best ladders in that one.
They got the Philly guy. You can see Terrell once again. He's not here. Mr. Edibles himself.
Oh my Jesus!
We're not gonna talk about.
And just to update the listeners out there, the Bears have gone ahead 10-7.
I'm talking about
Took them long enough.
Let's go Bears.
I'm surprised they got a field goal to go.
18 seconds left before the half.
Let's go
Bears
Bears.
kickers like Alabama kickers, but
This is true. You ain't lying about that.
Who would you say your top 3 for Rookie of the Year?
Ja Morant is number 1. Tyler Hero is in the mix.
Boy Wonder.
And because I haven't seen as much from any other rookie, I would place DeAndre Hunter in the mix only because he's starting for the Hawks. While the Hawks aren't winning a lot of games, they've only won 5 games thus far. He's getting a lot of work that's going to pay off for them long term. Absolutely. And I think there isn't any positives about John Collins being suspended, but it's given the Hawks a chance to continue to develop 2 rookies, in this case,
3.
Cam Reddish and
Bruno.
And those guys, I think, certainly will be parts of their foundation moving forward, along with Herter and Trae Young. But getting out on the floor and gaining that experience is something you can't ever overlook, and I think the Hawks will benefit greatly, albeit paying the price for the suspension right now. So when he comes back, that's not to say they're going to be an automatic playoff team. That's not what I'm saying. But those guys will be able. It's because it's going to be incumbent upon John Collins to fit in with them when he returns, because they've gotten their own groove going, and he will have been gone 25 games until late in December, and so it's best for him to fit in than to stop what that train has been doing thus far.
I mean, the train ain't been rolling well, but
and that's to be expected because John Collins was expected to be a potential All-Star himself,
20 and 10 guy,
and they're missing not only his leadership, but they're also missing his production on both ends of the floor.
Absolutely.
I could use it in Houston.
All right. I mean, for me, I had to go Ja. Ja, Tyler Hero. I actually might just take your list. Ja, Tyler Hero, and Hunter. Like, just going to the games and seeing Hunter like live, he looks like he's ready to be here.
Mm-hmm. Well, it helps because it helps that he's not only I think he was a 4-year player at Virginia.
No, he was
2 years.
3 years.
He was there 3. He had to sit out. He sat out 1 year, so he was there for 3.
Won a national championship, so he has that medal to his credit, and the ability to not let much phase him. And so, whereas you have certain guys like John Moran who played 1 year and came to the league, Hunter is a veteran when you compare him to other players, and so he has the ability to just pick up and go with today's NBA. But that's not to besmirch the abilities of John Morant and other guys who've only had 1 year of college ball, because Ja has certainly come in and done wonders for the Grizzlies. I think he's suffering an ankle sprain of some sort. Back spasms right now, so he missed a game or two himself. But I like what I see out of that young man.
Explosive.
And he's certainly going to...
him and Jaren Jackson have nice little chemistry.
Yeah, they do.
We've
We've seen that since he got there.
R.J. Barrett killing too.
Man, anybody try to hit? He
killing
had
our playoff
hopes.
I wouldn't say that RJ's killing it, because his shooting percentages
atrocious.
Aren't very good right now. I think he's shooting 38% from the field, and
That ain't good.
and
That's horrible.
around that same number from 3-point line, and he's not really doing that well from the free throw line. And he's also playing on a Knicks team that could be, unfortunately, for a buddy of mine, firing their coach any day now. But that franchise has a lot of work ahead of itself. And they haven't recovered from the Phil Jackson destruction days of him coming in there and turning
Derek
that
Fisher
franchise.
being the coach.
Derek Fisher,
It's
Kurt
it's been a
Rambis.
mess for a while, and so now and they've been unable to bring in any free agents of note. This week we've heard from Kevin Garnett kind of taking shots at Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving for going to Brooklyn, because he felt those guys should have gone to across the street, so to speak, to the Garden to play for the Knicks, because the Knicks are that team.
But who has gone? Outside of Amari Stoudemire, nobody has a free agent.
Why the KG say like? Is he mad? You went to Brooklyn? Oh, you got traded there, but you went to Brooklyn, so why was you mad?
Well, I wouldn't say he's mad. I think he's looking. You're talking about KG, a guy who's
old school,
on and off the floor all the time, and old school vet who won a championship. And it took. You got to remember what it took for him to even leave Minnesota. He was ready to be entrenched to be a Timberwolf for the remainder of his career. But once he heard that Boston was willing to make that move and bring in some additional pieces, Ray Allen and Paul Pierce, Ray Allen and I forget who they added.
Big Baby.
Paul was already there.
It was before that.
Big Baby would have made a deal, because he said on the point, he made a deal when they drafted, because Boston wanted Big Baby when they drafted, because Seattle drafted him, but they traded him with the Ray trade to trade him for Jeff Green and whoever that was that went to Seattle. So that's how that trade ended up happening.
But the Knicks have got to somehow change their culture, and it's.
I think it's going to change with ownership.
That ain't
I
gonna
don't know
happen.
if that's.
But he's never going to.
The only owners that appear to be changing in the New York area are the Mets owners, who announced yesterday that by 2024 they're going to sell the team to one of their secondary owners who. And I'm sure Mets fans are delighted to hear that. They probably just wish they were heading out of the door today.
Listen, they already let Zach Wheeler go to Philly, so I mean it's a dub on that. But I think we talked about DeAndre Hunter and his development, but we also see the Hawks are losing, and the season they're probably we just talked about it.
They're second,
the
third worst team.
Second
in the
or
league.
third worst team in the league right now,
Behind the Knicks and the Warriors.
right? And the Knicks are fully healthy too, by the way. But
You had to throw that shot at the
I do.
They are
What?
though.
The season isn't a total loss.
It's just a loss.
What would the Hawks have to do to fix this, to turn it around? Maybe not fix it, but just to
Play defense
it
on a
together.
consistent basis.
Not just playing better defense, but the schedule kind of lightens up for them in about a week. They've had one of the toughest early starts of the schedule of any team in the league. And once again, you still have to play those opponents when they're listed on your schedule, and you're not expected to take, and they haven't really taken any nights off. They've just run up against some more talented teams with better players, and in some of those games,
And better
they got
coaching.
completely blown out. I like what Lloyd Pierce is doing with this team because, unfortunately, when you tear a franchise down, and I went through several of those during my
Lord
years
Jesus.
with the Hawks, this team reminds me a lot of I believe it was the
17.
Mike Woodson's first year. And when we brought in Josh Childress, Josh Smith,
05.
Dante Smith, and
Royal Ivy.
Royal Ivy, and because we didn't pick up Joe Johnson until maybe a year after that, and so that foundation was the foundation that helped us not only. Then we added Al Horford 1 year later, and that's when things started to change. But while you're rebuilding, you're going to take a lot of growing pains, and it's going to be difficult for what you don't want to see with a young team as the Hawks have, is for them to become discouraged to the point of where they give up on the season before they have to. They were dealt a bad hand when Collins got the suspension at the start of the season and forced him to be out for 25 games because no matter what Trae Young does on and off the court, John Collins was viewed as the leader of that ball club. He was the guy who was here first, and he was that glue guy for them, and the guy who brought his lunch pail to work and was able to do a lot of the dirty stuff inside and outside for them. And Trae is able to.
Miss that.
They miss it. They miss it a great
They
deal
are
because
horrible on the inside.
the other guys aren't. That's not what the other guys do well for them.
They don't
right
spread the
now.
floor out for them.
And while they've gotten some great play out of Jabari Parker and Damian Jones, it hasn't been on a consistent enough basis to take away from the loss of having Collins. I think we'll see a better team come January, and as I said earlier, Collins will have to kind of
Reacclimate himself.
to that roster. Hopefully he's been working out. I'm sure he's been working out, but he's got to be in game shape. He hasn't played any games. He can't play any games while he's on the suspension. So all he can do is work out on his own or work out with some buddies of his if there's some here in the area playing pickup games or full court scrimmages. But until he goes through the rigors of a couple of weeks of being back, then we'll get a better idea as to what the Hawks will look like over the second half of the season. These being what it is, I know they had aspirations of making the playoffs. I don't know if you can say that right now because of his loss and the fact they've only won 5 games thus far into the season. There's not a whole lot more they can change because they don't play the best defense in the world. And too many nights it becomes a Trae fest. And that's good and bad. Trae Young is certainly putting up all-star type numbers, but what you don't want him to get locked in on doing is trying to play for the all-star game and forget what the objective is and trying to win games. And based on some of the comments he's made over the last week, this losing stretch has been killing him because, as he said when he scored 49 a week ago, he could care less about that. It's all about getting a W for him. And when you hear that as a fan or a follower of the team, you're encouraged by what he's trying to do, and you just know he needs additional help. Herder's loss also hurt them.
Oh, yeah.
Big time.
Not a bad pun there, but his loss certainly affected what they were able to do because you took another starter who potentially could score 15 to 20 points a game out of the roster, out of the lineup. At the same time, you lost John Collins. So they lost 2 guys that were instrumental to a lot of the success they had late in the season last year. Herder came back last night for the first time, and he was able to, I think, end up with 18 minutes or so, and I forget what he ended up scoring-wise. But it's going to take him about another week before he's fully acclimated to playing anywhere from 30 to 35 minutes a night. But you know he's itching to get back out there and help contribute with his teammates.
I think for me, is seeing them every night is they play inspired basketball for about a half.
Right.
And then they come back from the half and it's like we don't build off what they did. Like I watched Cam get on the roll. And he comes back and I'm like, you let him sit for 9 minutes throughout the game, and then you bring him back in. You don't run anything for him, which I get. He's a rookie. You're not gonna run much for a rookie, but at this point, what do you have to lose?
Right.
Especially you let him get on the roll on offense, then he starts playing defense. Because I've sat here and watched Cam let people just blow by him, not blocks people out, miss rebounds. Cam probably lets about 6 points go off just
That's usually what happens
not boxing out.
That usually happens players from Duke. They don't play defense to the league.
Well, if you also remember, he's still playing from his last season in Duke because he didn't play much over the last stretch of games there because of injury.
Yeah.
And then he came into camp and he was still working on his core and trying to get that right. And so now he's probably finally rounding himself into NBA shape.
Yeah.
But I think because the franchise has struggled, it hasn't been that long. It certainly wasn't as long as some of those years I was there. We went through 8 or 9 straight seasons of not making
13
playoffs.
and 69. I will never forget it.
Yeah, Mike Woodson's first year, 13 and 69, was
Brutal.
it was the grace of God to go down there and put up with those games from night after night, and no one in the stands, and you knew from the moment they tipped the ball off, it was an L. You don't want.
Oh no, it's no serious.
You don't want these young guys to get that loser's mentality because a lot of those players come from winning programs. Trey from Oklahoma, Virginia and Hunter, Duke and Reddish, Maryland with Herter and Big Boy Bruno. And so they've got some guys who come from winning programs. So you don't want that mentality to develop in them to where they feel like, oh, well, we know we're going to lose tonight. Let's start getting some numbers here.
1, 2,
Because
3,
that's the bad
Cancun.
objective.
Man, listen.
That's the bad objective.
I just don't want to see him giving up $130 to the Kyrie-less Nets.
Well, no, you can't, and you're absolutely right about that because they, at one point, Houston was up 55 or so.
They were getting 50 ball.
and they've had too many of those kind. They didn't have many of those kind of losses a year ago. Once again, they still had Collins and they had Herter. They've already a fourth of the way through the season. They've had probably 3 or 4 games when they've lost by 35 or more.
They went out to L.A. and got just
ramrodded.
First game.
They might as well just went and got pizza.
So you don't. That's when
Blades.
what I mean by not wanting to develop that loser's mentality because you've got very impressionable young players and talent on that roster, and what you don't want to do and what Lloyd Pierce can't allow to happen is for those guys to walk out each and every night thinking
This is
"All
okay."
right, we may play well for the first half, may play well for the first quarter, but we can't get down on ourselves the moment the opponent make a run and we're down 10 and we feel like it's already over. No.
And then I say a lot of times, Trey wants when that happens. Trey wants to shoot the home run shots.
Oh, listen, once that comes, Trey's like, come get this pick and roll. I'm about to let this joint go.
Yeah, they don't from watching them. They don't use the baseball terms. You will love it. They don't go for singles all the time. They want to go for home runs all the time.
I can't tell you how many times I've seen they swing the ball out to the corner instead of going for the layup. And I'm like, we don't
That's
even
basketball. That's
yeah, but
basketball.
I'm like, we don't even but we don't have shooters. Like, we got a whole bunch of people who do the same thing. Got Evan Turner, we got Bembry, Jabari Parker.
Who's becoming Mr. Dunker?
Listen, he been trying to get on everybody's head all year. That's his entertainment right there. But we don't have a backup facilitator that I trust at all either. Like, I like Bembry, I do, but he cannot be your backup facilitator. I like Evan Turner. I think he can be, but I think he's limited offensively as what he can do. Like, he can't shoot,
Never could.
so it's like you just sag.
Score update. The Bears are up 17-7 at the half.
This is
Come up,
hilarious.
let's go Bears.
Ooh, and he's not gonna fire Jason, whatever his last name
Let's
is.
go Bears.
This is sad. What I want to know what. Give me an update on what Mr. Trubisky is doing, because if he's doing well, then somebody got to be fired today.